Welcome back to Straight Facts on Tuesday. LB, Dan Potts back with us. How are you, gentlemen?
Good, man. Feeling refreshed. Have a beautiful weekend. Great weekend. Great day. Great away day.
Anything happened this weekend for you, mate? All right.
I just had a quiet one, mate.
Oh, yeah, just a quiet one. Yeah.
Just had a quiet one, mate. Yeah, just a quiet one. Of course it wasn't. It was blinding, mate. It was probably one of the best away days I've been to in a while. The build up to it, we'll get into it. But I'm good, thank you, Terry.
Good. LB, as the gym and running, I saw your tweet.
Yeah, man. I've been busy this month, innit? You know what I mean? With like holidays and partying and shit. So, yeah, I've not been for a run in like a month. So, yeah, I went for a run today, which was decent. And, yeah, man, just chilling. And, congratulations, Potsy, on the victory. Big win. And, yeah, it was crazy. I did a watch along for it, watched the game, and I think you deserve to win, so I'm sure we'll get into it, man. But yeah, big up you guys as always. Big up the chat, man. Make sure you smash the likes in it. Come on.
Absolutely. Get the like button here. Make sure you're subscribing to the Terrace as well. We're going to be speaking about Big Ange, the fraud, as many people are calling him. We'll be touching on Arsenal on a big week for them with Atalanta and City on the horizon. We're touching on City's trial that has begun this week and just getting more LB's take, thoughts and feelings on it, really. Plus, I do have to say about the trial that your main defense lawyer is the man that we can all see on the screen. I think it's pronounced Panic is his name, or Panic is his name. I have to say, I don't know if you got... Doesn't he look like Norris from Coronation Street? I just wanted to point that out.
Norris Cole.
He does. But he's actually passed away now, the actor that plays
Norris.
I saw it. And when I saw City fans sharing his picture, I was only like skimming through, and I kept on thinking, why are they sharing pictures of Norwich from Corrie? Turns out it isn't. It's this guy here. So we're going to be getting LB's take on that as that has begun. Plus a big claim. We're going to get your take on it later. Chelsea to come third. That's all I'm going to say for now. But Chelsea to come third in the Premier League this year. But I wanted to start off with Tottenham because I know you've had this most of your life, Potsy. Spurs fans. Always kind of grandstanding, we're this, we're that, we're bigger than you, we're better than you, we're going to achieve more than you. In the build up to last week, you saw that almost everywhere. Combined 11s with more players. Romero and our defense is better than yours. You've got Odegaard and Rice missing. We're gonna steamroll you. And again, for the third time in a row, which is the first time in nearly 40 years, Arsenal win 3 league games at White Hart Lane on the bounce. Another day where Arsenal sort of reign supreme, but there's a lot of criticism for Big Ange, a lot of criticism from his own fans now for his system and not adapting, the high line, the poor marking and the poor set piece element to his game, and essentially his style of football being absolutely outdone again. I think it's 4 clean sheets in 30 plus games. They're struggling to win matches. They haven't beat a top 6 team since they beat Man United early on last season. Things are not looking good for Big Ange, and he's starting to be called out and called a fraud.
Yeah, and fair play. What doesn't help is when he comes out and says stupid stuff in his interviews. And he's actually quite rude, now. He started off at Tottenham and I thought, you know what, he's come across quite well. He's come across as quite a cool guy and all this stuff. But for me now, he's actually been quite rude. I mean, the way he was with the girl who was interviewing him was actually really rude. The way he was talking.
No, I don't think that was rude. I got to defend him on that one, bro. Like she's asked him a question. He's about to answer it, and then she takes the mic away from him, and then adds a bit more to the question. Then puts the mic back to his.
That's her job, man. She hadn't finished asking yet. That's her job, man.
Why does she keep on going like this then with the mic?
She only did it once, man. He said, "Oh, you're gonna let me." He said, "Oh, you're gonna let me finish it." And then she said, "I've just repeated what I've said." You don't need to be like that. I get you're a sore loser. I understand it hurts, right? This guy then comes out in the interview and says, "I always win things in my second year." Then when it was questioned again today, I don't know if you saw the press conference or yesterday, whenever it was, I don't understand why this is such a big thing. This is just a fact. I win things in my second year. This guy, man, is losing his head. He's losing his marbles. And I think he's under massive pressure. Now, in the last 14 games that they have played in the Premier League, they have won 4 games in the last 14 from last season and this season. Let me name the teams they've beaten. Everton this year, who look like they're going to get relegated. They're that bad. Luton, relegated. Sheffield United, relegated. And Burnley, relegated. They're the only 4 teams that they've beaten in the last 14 Premier League games. That is a shambles of a run, right? And this guy is still in the job. Now, it's the worst start to a season since, I think, 2009. This manager is the most stubborn manager who does not want to change anything in terms of his high line. And he has spent over half of what Mikel Arteta has spent in 5 years in 2. And he has spent it on Brennan Johnson. And look at the state of that. Some of the players in that squad, by the way, they've spent money on. It's absolutely crazy. He's bringing on Werner for Maddison. He's got £65 million up front now in Solanke, which I think is a massive risk. He's already spent 60 on Richarlison. You go to Forest with 50 million, you don't come away with Morgan Gibbs-White. You come away with Brennan Johnson. That's a sackable offence as far as I'm concerned straight away. Absolutely shambolic. Some of them look all right. Van der Ven, I think he's actually a good centre-half. But all these Tottenham fans that have been telling me Romero is better than Saliba, get in the bin, man, please. Please just get in the bin. This guy's cost you three or four goals already. You've got this Vicario in goal, who's the biggest flapper I've seen for a long time when coming from crosses. In fact, he didn't even flap, if I'm honest, for that corner. He just got done. I don't know what he was doing. It was just embarrassing. So when I see all Spurs fans every single year, they'll get back in their box now. They'll be quiet now. All their 5G's gone down the whole of this weekend. They can't text anyone. There's absolute silence from everyone. And then around about Christmas time to the start of January, I'll hear from them all again. They'll be putting Romero and Porro and Van der Ven back in their combined 11s because we'll be having them. It'll be around the corner. It'll be Arsenal Spurs around about New Year, and they'll come out again. This is what they do, man. This is what happens. This is what Tottenham do. This is a football club that bottle everything. This is a football club that don't win things. This is a football club that absolutely have no understanding of how to win trophies, because what they do is they have Jose Mourinho with his CV, who, by the way, was awful. But then the day before a final, they go, I think we'll have Brian Mason, please. We'll have Ryan Mason instead of Jose Mourinho. This is the club we're talking about. This is an absolute shambles of a club, and one that I just keep laughing at. But every time they play Arsenal, home or away, because that's the only 2 games they care about, guys, by the way. They've got 38 games. The only 2 they care about. They're quiet for all of them. Arsenal at home. Come on, let's get the combined 11s out. Let's throw all these players in our combined 11. Let's make Arsenal look crap. They got no Odegaard. They got no Rice. This is going to be easy. All the previews I've got leading up to it: 3-1 Tottenham, 3-0 Tottenham, 2-0 Tottenham. What do you think the score will be? I reckon we'll nick it 2-1. I reckon we'll beat you 3-1, 3-0. I reckon. Cool. And then when they lose 1-0, we're crap anyway. Get Ange out. What absolute nonsense are we hearing from these guys? Honestly, man, it's beautiful. I love it. And every single year, it gets better and better. This guy, I hope, stays in the job, because Tottenham are not getting anywhere near Champions League football playing like this, man. Mwah! It's beautiful to see.
Well, listen, mate, I got to say, for me, mate.
Listen, mate.
No, first of all, I think, I'll just speak about the game. I thought Spurs were absolutely diabolical. Just because you look good in the middle of the park or whatever, get the ball forward, all right, that for me is irrelevant. It's about what you do when you get the ball in the penalty box and around the penalty area. And they were absolutely shambolic. Son, Brennan Johnson, Solanke didn't have much service, but when he did get that big chance, he wanted touch after touch after touch. He needed to shoot. Poor. Maddison, for me, played way too deep. I didn't think he had a good game, but I think he played way too deep in the match. I think Postecoglou got that wrong. I personally would have played Maddison really close to Solanke to get Solanke some support. I think that was a mistake. Try to play him as this deep-lying quarterback-style player ain't the way. Thought Kulusevski sort of drifted in and out of the game as the game went on. Sometimes he looked all right, sometimes he didn't, but he was probably one of the better players when he was in the game. Just really, really poor, man. Really, really poor. And I got to say, I got to give Arteta some credit, because for me, I think he knew that was exactly how the game was going to go. Because if you'd watched the Tottenham versus Leicester game, Tottenham should have been 5-0 up against Leicester in that first half, yeah? They only scored 1 goal in the game. If you watch the Newcastle game, they dominated the ball again on the edge of the penalty area, didn't score enough goals, only scored 1 goal, got beat. So I think Arteta just went there and thought, you know what? If we open up the game, we attack them, right? That'll give them more space, more places for them to damage it. Let's just sit back. We've got one of the best defenses in Europe, right? Let's just sit back, defend. Spurs don't know how to score a goal, and we'll get them on the counter attack, or we'll get them off a set piece. And I think he got the tactics spot on. I don't think it was pretty, but I think he got the tactics spot on. And I think basically he just knew that Tottenham are just dead. You know what I mean? And that's why he set up that way. So I got to say, fair play to Arteta. Really, really poor from Spurs. I mean, you got to be getting more than this, man. You know what I mean? Your local rivals are coming to your gaff without Rice, without Odegaard, and that's the best that you can do. Really, really poor. And I think Ange is under pressure, and I think that's why he's a little snappy. I don't think he was rude. I think, the reporter brought it on herself, but I think for me personally, I think that he's under pressure, and I think he knows he's under pressure. The other thing that maybe he's getting to is maybe this whole Spursy thing is just rubbing off on him. You know what I mean? In a weird way, in the sense that, like, bro, no one can succeed at that football pause, isn't it? Well, no one can succeed at that football club. I mean, if you look at the names that they've had, Pochettino, Conte, Jose Mourinho, none of them have been able to win anything. So he's probably gone there. He's probably like 18 months into the job, and he's thinking to himself, nah, I ain't going to win anything. So it's just a mess. Spurs are just
the CV of Mourinho and Conte. They've won every other club they've been to other than Tottenham. That says something, man. That says something that is cursed. Yet the Spurs fans will tell you that Vicario is better than Raya and Romero is better than Saliba. Yawn. It goes on. And the back five that they try and put into a combined 11 is conceding goals left, right, and centre. From set pieces, it's an absolute mess, if I'm honest with you.
I mean, Vicario was shocking. He was poor. He didn't know what he was doing. Romero, embarrassing. You know what I mean? Any Spurs fan claiming that's a foul should just hang their head in shame. You know what I mean? That is super, super poor. And, you just go through the team. They're just a bang average team. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. They're just average. Solanke, average. Brennan Johnson, probably slightly less than average. Sod at the moment is playing average. Kulusevski, average. Madison, they're just average players. So when you get average players, you get average performances. I put them 7th in my Premier League predictions at the start of the season. I don't know, actually, if I've had them a bit high there. I think they might finish 8th or 9th. I
put them around 8th and 9th. I agree. And do you know what's interesting? There's a comment here from Carl, one of our long-standing Spurs members of the Terrace, who says, no one's saying he's not under pressure, but being purposely disingenuous like it's all his fault is absolutely astonishing. And I will say this, Spurs will not be fixed just by sacking Ange Postecoglou. Spurs won't be fixed just by Ange Postecoglou adapting his style. Cal is right in that. And I don't believe the boys are being disingenuous, if I'm being honest. I just think we haven't got on to this element of the talking point yet. There's a lot that needs to be fixed at that football club. Too many managers have failed for it to always be on the manager. But where you can look and criticize Big Ange is no adaptation. It's fine to play your brand of football when you have the best squad, the best team with the most money in Scotland, because it's essentially a 2-horse race. And as long as you're slightly better than Rangers that year, you can kind of play however you want. Celtic are exponentially better most seasons than everybody in the SPL, sometimes barring Rangers, recent years Rangers. Outside of that, they're the best team. There are certain managers, we see that in other leagues where you're in a kind of 1-horse race, maybe a 2-horse race, the manager does well, they then suddenly go to a far more competitive league and their system isn't working. I think there's similarities, not in the way they play, but with why Ten Hag came to England and when he had Ajax, who still are the best team, generally speaking, been the best team in the Netherlands, you can play a particular way. You can empty the midfield and attack because pound for pound, your players are typically speaking better than everybody else you're playing against. And unless Pep Guardiola style of football, if Pep didn't have a squad, and this isn't a dig at Pep, if Pep's squad wasn't as good as it was, I guarantee you Pep would adapt. I guarantee you Pep would do things slightly differently because winning is more important than I have to play my way. And I think that is where Big Ange, for me, frustrates the living daylights out of me. Not addressing the set. It's not the transfer window. You could bring a new set piece coach in tomorrow morning. There's nothing stopping you. They haven't addressed the set pieces. The high line gets exposed far too often. Tom Little brought this up yesterday, and it's so true. They've got fullbacks who are brilliant out wide, who they invert in the central areas, and they have wide players who are very good at coming in centrally that they're making hug the touchline. That's a managerial or a coaching issue. And these things 110% have to be called out when it comes to Tottenham. And I agree with what you said about Mikel Arteta. I think Mikel Arteta, there's a lot of, this always happens when a team wins in a slightly more pragmatic way. But I would, if I was Arsenal fans this time round, and I've seen Man United suffer this many years when we used to beat Arsenal this way, Fergie would often go away to Arsenal and say, boom, have the ball. And you've got to understand, in boxing, they say that styles make fights, same as in any kind of fighting sport. It's almost styles make fights. The same can be said about certain football matches. And what Spurs need is teams to open up and be expansive against them for the way they play to work. So why play into Tottenham's hands when you've got 3 or 4 or 5 injuries and players missing away from home in a derby, which is a pretty good leveler? And we all know that, typically speaking, it levels games out, even when there's disparity between the two teams. Mikel Arteta was absolutely spot on. I think it was another game, he won't silence them forever, but where he silences his haters. People that say that does he know how to adapt? Does he know how to win ugly? Does he know how to change things up at the right moment? And he done that again. And I think Arsenal fans should be so proud, because if you think back to maybe 2 years ago, right up until the last time he won the league, the amount of times Arsenal under Wenger, as an example, would play one way and lose so many of these important games, not be able to adapt, not be able to win ugly. Your fan base, and you'll know this better than me, Potsy, it feels to me, through my friends who I live with, right through to doing social media work, Arsenal fans have been asking for the occasional win like yesterday for about 20 years. You don't want to play that way every week, and I understand that. But I just thought that Arteta absolutely schooled Big Ange, got his tactics right. They got the win. They go into the City game now with far less pressure on them. And you look at the difference, as you say, 4 wins in 14 games now. The fact is, Man United have been awful. But when our win ratio in that same time period is better and we won a trophy, that's got to be looked at, considering we know how bad Man United were in that time period. 4 games in 14 games. 4 wins in 14 games is horrendous. And as you say, Arteta absolutely schooled him.
Big time. And look, I've got no problem with seeing Arsenal win 1-0. I mean, I grew up on it with George Graham. It was what I was used to, 1-0s, 2-1s. When Arsene Wenger came in, it was completely different. It was attractive style of play. But there were times where we had to dig in deep over the years and win 1-0, 2-1. I would say in the Emirates era, it was actually becoming quite laughable at how bad defensively we were. And it was only one way, and Wenger just had that one way, and he was so stubborn with it. So for Arteta to actually be adaptable is something you've got to give him credit for. And with LB, I think you have to look at that and see, right, what has he looked at and shown evidence of? Well, he's seen that Tottenham can't hit a barn door at the moment, and he's seen that we're good defensively. So he said, I reckon we can have you in that department. And he knows that there is going to be a set piece, because we scored 2 of them last season in the first half. We're 3-0 up in the first half. We actually haven't played it well in the last 2 games away from home in the North London derby. But we've won 3-2 and 1-0. And we haven't even played well in either of them. The one before that we were good. That was before Postecoglou. We were actually really good. We beat them 2-0. But we've literally gone there and we've beaten them 3 times. Their ground has been open for 5 years and we've beaten them 3 years already. They've won once in the Emirates in 30 years? And we won 3 times already in 5.
It's a madness. The thing that I want to say about Spurs as well is who's making the signings here? Because the signings are questionable, man. You know, they are questionable. Is it Ange's? Is Ange the one that's picking the players? Or is it like the sporting director, someone on the board, the scouts? Because I'm looking at some of their signings, man. Like 65 M's on Dominic Solanke is mad risky. It's a huge gamble. Yeah, he's had 1 good season in the Premier League. Yeah. Brennan Johnson, 55 million. This is transfer market figures, by the way. He's not good enough for Tottenham. And, he needs to be sold. James Maddison, listen, that's a weird one because he's a decent player on his day, but how often does he have his day? They've signed this Archie Gray for 40 million for Leeds. Still, he didn't start against Thingy. Van der Ven, fair's good. Kulusevski, meh. Odebert's going to take him years to be cooking. Dragusin, I don't see him playing. Vicario started well, but now he's looking a little shaky. Veliz, 15 mil. Don't know who that guy is. Bergval apparently might be decent, but again, not really seen too much of him. He spent, 370 million quid how many signings have they actually made there under Postecoglou that have actually been decent? So who's making those signings? He's also brought back Timo Werner, by the way, which is absolutely shambolic. So who's making these signings?
On top of that, on Werner, 180 grand a week they're paying him.
Same as Son. Son's on that. Son's on that. Son's actually got over 100 goals. This Werner guy's done nothing for both Chelsea and Spurs. It's a shambles. And for Ange to bring him on, by the way, ahead of Maddison, Christ, I know Maddison was playing badly, but wow. When I saw that sub, I was rubbing my hands together thinking, wow, at least Maddison can create something if you actually put him up the pitch a little bit further. But my goodness, Werner he's just absolutely terrible, isn't he? And look, some of their signings have been hits. I think Udogi's a good signing. I do think Romero's a good defender, but he's just not on the level that some Spurs fans rate him at. I think Van der Ven's a good player. I do rate Maddison. I know that he's off a cliff at the moment. Bissouma on his day started the season last season well as well. So they've got some good players, don't get me wrong. But LB's right. Who the hell is making these signings? And it's always the big money signings, by the way. Davinson Sanchez, 47 million from Ajax. Ndombele, 60 million from Lyon. These are massive, massive flops at Tottenham. Who is making these signings? And you can look at Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy's done a lot of good at Tottenham, right? He has. He's put them into that stadium. He's got them to Champions League football. He's got them fighting for a title once. He's got them. I get that. But when it goes to that next level, when is it? When is it?
Bro, you're waffling there. He's done a lot of good.
No, come on, LB, he has. When have you ever seen Tottenham in your lifetime going for a title? Never. You have under Levy. When have you seen him in a £60,000?
How long has Levy been at the football club? Wait. How long has Levy been at the football club?
Years, mate. Years now. Years. Absolutely years, mate.
Over 20 years?
Yeah. When did Levy join Spurs? Have a look. Have a look when he joined Spurs. He's been responsible for them.
Yeah, but the point is, whenever your lifetime have you seen them challenge for the title? I mean, I'm 30. And I don't remember Spurs being.
That's it. Under Levy.
He's been there the whole time, bro. So how has he done a good job?
No. He has been. Daniel Levy is responsible for what Tottenham have done, getting them into a title, putting them into a Champions League final, putting them into one of the biggest stadiums. My question mark is what they're going to do next. Has he got the ambition to get them across that line?
I think you're waffling there, bro. I think you're telling me you're giving credit to Levy for getting them to a Champions League final, I think Levy deserves credit for
some of the credit for that. 100%.
So not.
My question mark is what does he do now? My question mark is where is his ambition to go across the line next? Where's his ambition to not just get top four, go win a title, win a trophy?
They don't have that ambition. They don't have that ambition.
That's what I'm saying. So
you can't give him credit for getting them to a Champions League final. That has to go solely, in my opinion, to the manager and the players. It's not. Levy didn't have anything to do with Spurs getting to a Champions League final. That's down to the players, yeah. Down to fucking Lucas when he done that absolute madness against Ajax, yeah. And the manager. It's nothing to do with Levy. Levy wasn't out on the pitch.
No, I get that. I get that. But what I'm saying is, okay. Let me explain it differently then. So because I'm not giving Levy credit here, by the way, at all, because that's the last thing I want to do. But I'm saying just listen to what I'm saying. Him overseeing Tottenham that time that he did, they have been in a Champions League final. They have been a title race when they've been fucking coming third, by the way, which I always like to add, against Leicester, and they're in one of the best stadiums in the league. He deserves credit for overseeing that, in my opinion, overseeing that project, right? Where he doesn't deserve credit is they haven't actually won anything. So that's what I'm getting at. When is Daniel Levy going to show the ambition with Spurs fans, with the club, to go, I'm going to go to that next level? And I'm not so sure that he has. Now, you can say, for the first time in a long time, he has actually tried to at least back Ange Postecoglou with what has been 400 million euros that he's now spent. I think you said it, 300 and whatever it is that he's actually done. Listen, the history of the Tottenham, that's what they say, right? I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't think personally that Daniel Levy has been an absolute shambles, but when it comes to getting them across the line,
I think he's been an absolute shambles. He's been at that football club. But I'm
not going to argue that.
No, bro, it says there, according to Wikipedia, he's been here, since 2001, right? In 2016, he became the highest paid Premier League chief executive in the whole league. Yeah, we're getting £6 million a year, right? So he's been there now, 24 years. They won one trophy. Bro, you can't give any credit whatsoever, bro. The managerial sackings have been poor in the past. The way that they buy players is shocking. The way that they invest into the team is poor. Yeah. The fans hate him, which is a good indication that he's not done a good job. He's one of the worst people in football. He is not bothered about winning. All they're bothered about at Spurs, is buying these players who are not elite, so then they can grow them and after a few years flog them. Yeah, I mean, and then they do this. Oh, we didn't really want to sell him, but we had to because no, they're not interested. How many times have they gone out there and bought a world-class player? How many times?
No, they don't do that, do they? They're not that club. They ain't that club. They don't go and buy world-class players.
They always try and buy the players that like no one else really wants and tries to develop them, man. He's a shambolic football person, man. He's horrendous, and Spurs fans should be doing everything possible to get him out of the club.
Yeah.
And just because he got him into a new stadium, what is this? Do you know what I mean? It's not an estate agent. You know what I mean? It's meant to be running the football club.
But this is where football fans are like moths half the time. I understand. We were talking about this last week on a Wednesday show. Actually, we were speaking about should Chelsea move stadiums right now. That conversation came up. It's a shame it didn't come up the day before when Don was on with us, as Potsy was on holiday. And all I said is, until you actually know who's going to own your club, the direction they're going in, and that you buy into their plans, don't move stadiums now. Don't sell your soul to it, because you need to understand and fully believe in what they're trying to do. And I think that there's a lot of football fans are like moths when we get attracted to the bright lights. You know, Magpies, oh, that's shiny. You know, I'm going to go and grab it, as opposed to looking at what the longer term plans are. And again, Spurs fans are accountable, though. The same as I said this about the Glazers, and I was part of this problem for a long time. If you know that they don't have winning football matches and winning trophies as their main priority, if you believe that, but yet you are still giving the club money, in my opinion, you are as guilty as that owner. Now, if you don't believe that, then it makes total sense. But again, I always go back to this. When I was talking to my dad moaning about the Glazers, about they don't care about winning, they just care about making money and profit off of us. And my dad just said, then why are you funding that? I didn't have an argument that held any water. I gave my dad all the same excuses I used to get on Twitter. But if I give up my ticket, somebody else will take it. I said that to my dad. He went, but that's making you fund these people you think are ruining your club because someone else might get your seat. How does that make sense? And this is the problem. Spurs fans, they had a protest about the leaving in Enoch. 7 people turned up and they played on a guitar. 7 people turned up and played on a guitar or a banjo or something outside the stadium. 7. The shop, all of the 7 also had gift bags from the shop they went in prior. This is and I understand football fans are not customers, but if you're treated like customers, yield that power. Customers of businesses don't understand sometimes how powerful they are, because if they're only interested in people that are only interested in money are so simplistic to control. You take the money away. Genuinely, I see it all the time on X now or Twitter. Oh, Elon Musk has ruined the platform. Leave then. Because if everybody really thought it was bad and left, they'd change it to make everyone come back, right? So if you actually want change, do something. Stop moaning about it all the time. Maybe that's the bit with Spurs fans where I get it, and I see Spurs fans on streams moaning about the owners in the new kit with the renewed membership, and I'm like, they're not going to change while you keep funding them.
To be fair though, if without being hypocritical, we have done that before. I have seen it with our ownership with the European Super League, where people have turned up to a protest with a Cronky scarf around their head, going "Cronky out," and they've just bought the new scarf. So we have seen that.
All clubs, and I'm not saying Spurs are unique in this.
It is all clubs.
I think all of our clubs kind of do this, and it frustrates me though, because I get it from kids, but when you're an adult and you look at it again, I'm not talking about a club. Say City's owners made a decision next week their fans didn't like. I think they've got the right to moan about it and ask them to change. But you can tell City's fans want to win. We're going to get onto them a bit later, but you can tell they want to win. So you haven't got a boycott then. But if you've sat there and gone for 20 years, the Glazers, all they've wanted to do is drain money out of us. Why are you giving them that money to drain out the club? And I'm not saying it makes you a bad fan. I'm just saying I don't think, and it's hard because whenever you say it, people take it so personally. But I think I was accountable. Every kit I bought, and even now we've got the Ineos in. Until I see a plan of action of how there's a process to buy them out, I'm still not putting any money into it. The reason I'm not putting any money into it is because I don't want to help fund something that might keep the Glazers here another 10 years. Just my stance. Does it make me a better fan? Does it make me a better person? I'm not trying to claim that. But Spurs supporters almost universally hate their owners, but continue funding it. I don't understand. I don't understand it, if I'm being absolutely honest.
Do you think Ange will get sacked
and make them
in the next
change?
few weeks? Do you think Ange will get sacked in the next few weeks?
See, this is the thing with Spurs' owners. I think there's a lot of similarities between them and the Glazers. And I think, say they get knocked out by Coventry tomorrow night. If Coventry knock them out and they go out of that tournament and the fans turn and the match day fans turn, they have the kind of owners that are quite reactive in that way. It was, well, do you know what, right? If we get rid of Ange and then we bring in a manager that gets everybody a little bit excited, the owners get left alone for a period of time. Same thing with, and I recognize this as an anti-Glazer. Every time we sacked him, the Glazers would only really get pressure when a manager was struggling. We'd sack whoever, Jose, bring in Ollie, and for a year, 18 months, it would just be about manager in, manager out. Ollie would go, new guy comes in, everyone leaves the owners alone, spend a bit of money in the transfer window, and that's what the owners at Spurs do. They know that they can pull the wool over their fans' eyes with a couple of shiny new toys. They are like that dad who is not there for his kids, but then turns up once in a blue moon with a new PlayStation game. Oh, my dad's amazing. He's not really. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't come to your football matches, doesn't read you a bedtime story, doesn't teach you how to do anything, but just turns up with a present every now and then and looks like a hero. That is what these owners do. So he could be sacked because the owners are heavily, heavily reactionary, and they just know it's going to put everyone on side, especially if the new manager comes in and wins.
After that Man United game, I want to see where they're at.
The problem is that I've got
Brentford and Man United. That's the next three, isn't it? So Coventry, Brentford, and Man United. I want to know where they're after that. I think he'll get those 3 games and see where we're at after that.
No, it's all right. The problem I've got with it is, like when a manager's going to start looking at it and go, nah, I can't do anything. Because the only managers that I think you can really now start to attract at Spurs, is like young, up-and-coming, De Zerbi type ones. Because Tuchel's not going to go there. No more Conte-style manager or Jose. Because I'm not being funny, right? If you're a manager on that level, you're looking at it going, all right, well, Pochettino went there, got him to a final and then got sacked. Conte's been there, got sacked. Mourinho got them to a final and then got sacked before the final. Postecoglou's now there and then, let's say he gets sacked. At what point do managers go, well, if they've not done it, well, what chance have I got? You know, that club does not enable the team to have success because of the way that it's operated.
I think this has already happened, though, hasn't it? So I'm going to end up getting my dates wrong here. But when they appointed Nuno, who came in before Conte, wasn't it 7, 8? No, it might have been more. 7 or 8, I'm being conservative. It could have been as much as 13 or 14 managers said no before they went to Nuno. One of them was Conte. Nuno did badly. He got sacked. And then Conte came into the football club. This has happened to Tottenham. And a lot of us kind of came out and did content up until like December last year and said, maybe we got Big Ange wrong. But if we remember when they employed Big Ange, most people, including a lot of Tottenham fans, were laughing and saying, who is this like unknown, all relatively unknown manager who's been in Scotland, who prior to that was managing Koala Bears FC or whatever they're called. They've got a name like that, Koala FC or Kangaroo FC. You looked at his CV and went, that's scraping the barrel. And this isn't like a 35-year-old new manager. This is someone who's been around, coaching 15, 20 years. I think what you're saying, LB, has already happened. Yes, they got Conte, and it was almost like, but he'd already said no to them once. And then I think he came in and almost straight away was saying, I bloody regret doing this. I think you're absolutely right. I think there is a reputational risk. Nearly every manager that goes to Tottenham leaves with huge amount of baggage, controversy, and their reputation in tatters. Every single one of them gets hurt by that football club. And I don't think this is about, I'm not even bashing Spurs. I'm bashing the people that run their club. The people that are the custodians of what is a legendary football club. And this is the first club to win a double, which is huge. This is, some of the achievements in the early stages of Tottenham Hotspur were massive. But for the last 20 or so years, they have been run purely and simply as a commercial business, making profit and growing the valuation to sell for a profit. And the fact that Spurs fans roll over and have their bellies tickled annoys me. Stand up, be counted, and make a change for the club that you undoubtedly love. But sometimes tough love is needed. And I've always given this example, and I don't care if it triggers people. I have 3 children. Heaven forbid none of them ever get hooked on a substance. But you've got 2 types of parents in that situation. Some that, do you know what? I don't want to see him go cold turkey and be in pain. I'm going to go out and buy it for him. I'll go and buy you a bottle of this, or I'll go and buy you a hit of that. Or you've got what I would like to think I would do. I'm locking you in the room until you sweat that shit out and then you get in rehab. I don't care the pain. I don't care the screaming. Tough love. And that for me is what you've got to do to your club. Maybe you've got to sacrifice. Maybe you've got to hurt your club to help it go forward. Sometimes in life, to move a car, sometimes you've got to reverse before you go forward. And I know it's not what you want to do because you love your club. But if they really believe their ownership is that bad, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. They're not. They're just going to keep growing the value of your club until eventually they sell it for multiple billions. And in the meantime, what are you doing? I don't like seeing Tottenham treated in this way at all. I really don't. And I think the fans have got to practice tough love. They really do.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree with everything you said. That club is being used and the fan base is being used. Yeah, and you need to get that guy out because, out of the top 6 clubs, Spurs are the only ones that don't win anything. United last year, worst Premier League season of all time, still won an FA Cup. Yeah. Like Chelsea won Champions League a few years ago, won multiple Premier Leagues. Arsenal have stacked up FA Cups over the last 20 years. Yeah, Liverpool, Champions League, City won stuff as well. Spurs are the only club that doesn't win anything. And you can see that as an attack if you want, or you can actually see it as like, oh yeah, that's a decent point. Why are Spurs the only Big 6 club that doesn't win anything? Because your club isn't designed to win with the current board and the current ownership model.
And they've tried everything as well, Abby. This is the thing. When they got Conte and appointed him, I spoke to my mate and we had a disagreement about it. And I said, well, at least they've shown a little bit of ambition with a top quality manager. And they went, that's not ambition, man. That's desperation. If this does not work, they are finished. They've tried everything. They've tried the proven manager. They've tried the winning manager. They've tried the CV manager that says, look at me, I win stuff. They've tried the youth project manager in Poch. They've tried the Nuno with a style. Now they've gone to Ange Postecoglou. And it's like, this just ain't working. Nobody can win here. It's crazy. I mean, it's brilliant, but no one can win here. And like us, do you really think Spurs are a Big 6 club? Do we look at them as a Big 6 club? Yeah, of course they are. They're known as one, but what makes them a Big 6 club? And how long can they stay in this Big 6? Because if Villa start winning trophies, they're going to have to be classed as the Big 6, are they? I don't understand it. When do they get dropped out of the Big 6?
Top six is top 6, Big 6. I think it's partly based on income and size.
Yeah.
But then you look at the rich 6. But then you've also got the element. I mean, like, if Villa have 2 seasons running as a Champions League qualifying team, if they pick up a trophy in that period, this is a team that already has 2 Champions Leagues, or is it 1? I swear it's 2.
I thought they had 1, but maybe they had 2 of them. Villa, yeah.
I thought they had 2. No, I know they have 1. I think it's Forest that have 2.
It's Forest that have 2. Yeah,
they won 2 in a row, didn't they?
Let's have a little look here. Cups.
Yeah, Villa got 1. Forest got 2.
Yeah, they've got 1. They've got 1. So, but this is a team that already has a Champions League to its name. This team has won. Look at it now, right? Aston Villa, they've won the European Cup or the Champions League. They've won the Super Cup. They've won 7 FA Cups in their time, 5 League Cups. They've won 7 what you would call Premier League titles. They won them when it was a championship, but they've won 7 of them. Villa are not a small football club either. And if they start qualifying and start winning, you do get replaced in that kind of category. And that's why I think Spurs, again, whenever you have these conversations, and when I have these conversations privately with Spurs friends of mine, they get it. Speak to my dad about it. He gets it. But I'm not even attacking them. I'm not trying to be horrible. I just look at it and think, how can you expect, was it the definition of insanity? How can you expect different results when you're practicing the same thing year in, year out? How can you expect your club to get different results? And I think what you said, LB, just resonated with me around the signings they make. And you look at someone like a Dominic Solanke, you look at someone like a Brennan Johnson, they probably think expensive, but not 80, 90 million. Do you know what? If we could bring them in and they replicate that Bournemouth form, they replicate that Forest form, we might get 70 million for them when we sell them. Maybe there's an element here of almost, are you buying players you think can win you trophies, or are you buying players that you think we could flip for a 10, 15, 20, 30 million pound profit in a few years' time? And, at least when they did that, when they were selling the Defoes and they were selling the Keanes and the Carricks and the Berbatovs, at least they were letting players go. What's been really weird is that they've held on to some of these players, and they got a lot of money in the end for Kane, but could have got a lot more if they sold them a few years earlier. Son's another one. It's almost, again, if you're one of the players, why would you even stay there that long? If you're really good as a player, Son has wasted his career. Son has wasted his career, because we all know this. You don't become a legend of this game without winning major trophies. You have to win them, because every legend has got them. And I don't know. I feel... I'm not even horror. I feel a bit sorry for him. Maybe it's because my dad's a Spurs fan and I'm a little bit sentimental because of my old man. And I'd love, hopefully he's around for another 20 years, my dad.
But they've got to start doing something, though, because
the fans have got to do something. You're right.
I agree with you. I'm not attacking Tottenham fans or the club. It's irrelevant to me, yeah? I don't have any beef with Tottenham. But, I'm just checking now, Terry, yeah? In 2023, Spurs had the 4th highest revenue out of any Premier League club, yeah? In 2023, Spurs had the 8th highest revenue of any European club. There is absolutely no excuses that can be given, about why they don't win trophies, other than the fact that the owners just don't care and they're not asked. The 4th biggest revenue in the country, the 8th biggest revenue in Europe, and you've won 1 trophy in the last 20 odd years. You've got to. These Spurs fans, I know they don't like this guy, but you've got to, because what happens is, right. I remember watching Spurs channels last year, a couple weeks into Postecoglou, and all of a sudden everyone goes, all the Spurs fans started going, "Oh, maybe Levy's started to learn." No, he's not learned, bro.
Well, but I'm going to say one thing again. Do you remember what was being sung this time last season? We've got our Tottenham back. We've got our Tottenham, and that's a problem. What are those things called? Lemons, not lemons. Lemons. We've got our Tottenham back. Got what back? I would say, if we're being honest, Tottenham haven't got their Tottenham back until you're producing something close to what Bill Nicholson was doing, or at the very least, you're a team like in the 90s. They're a good team. They won FA Cups. They won League Cups. They're a good team. At least that level. You can't sing we've got our Tottenham back because you've won 3 of your 4 opening league games. Yeah, genuinely. And I've said this about my own club, so I know I'm keeping the energy the same. And I'm telling Spurs fans, I see such similarities between the Glazers and your owners. I really do see big similarities, and it's not a good look. And we've got some super chats here. First one says, what's more damning for Ange and Spurs is that Mikel had to change his tactics multiple times before the game due to injuries. We have to talk about how poor of a manager Ange actually is. He has no plan B in the Premier League. Is crazy.
I mean, I remember hearing Spurs fans saying Ange is a better manager than Arteta, and you know what I mean. It's proved to me in this time that he's been at Spurs that he's not a better manager than Arteta. He's not. He fails to adapt. Arteta does. I'm not saying Arteta is a great manager, but I just think he's a better manager than Ange. I think Ange is a one-trick pony at this moment in time.
Yeah, that is what he is. One-trick pony. Too stubborn to change his ways. High line is ridiculous. Arsenal didn't even play that well. I'd actually think our attack was that great. We could have got in behind them a couple more times. We could have got balls over the top. There was times I was sitting there the game on Sunday thinking, wow, just put a ball over the top and we're in. It's that easy to play against Spurs, man. It really is.
Yeah, no, I listen. I totally get where you're coming from, boys. I think it's crazy here, and I want to show you guys this as well. It's things like this, and maybe a year ago, talking about tipping him to be the new Sir Alex. These are the types of things. These are the types of comments. These are the types of moments where I just think to myself, please, 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 please stop. The good job Ange has done is only commendable if he was coaching a team like Everton at the moment. Teams fear playing Aston Villa more than Spurs nowadays. If I was Spurs, I would genuinely be gunning for Unai Emery. Unai Emery is never leaving Aston Villa for Tottenham. And on plan Bs, people act like Pep doesn't have plan Bs. I've definitely seen Pep change his style of play over the last 7 or 8 years since he's been in the Premier League. Like
Multiple
there's adaptations to it multiple times.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, this idea that you got to, and again, some of this is born out of online tacticos and the nonsense. You've got to have a set style of play and play it every week, no matter what. This is just bollocks because the greatest managers of all time never fucking did that. Do you know what I mean? So whoever says that, you should just disregard everything they say because they're chatting shit. On club standards, if Ten Hag was the manager of Spurs and did the same as he did with United the past 2 seasons, he would be considered a legend.
That's a great super chat. That's a great super chat because it's true. If he would have won them 2 trophies, Tottenham, that's all they care about. Tottenham would be like, oh, that'll do. At least we got the 2 trophies in. You know what I mean? That's a great super chat, man. Love that.
Yeah, and it would be. I mean, this is a team that I don't even, again, I'm not being horrible, just compared to, there is no comparison between Man United and Tottenham. Historically, recently, in my lifetime, we're not the same. We're just not. So, yeah, absolutely, that would be great for Tottenham. The level between Arsenal and Tottenham is in 3 years is when you go back 3 years ago, Spurs were a better team. But again, Arsenal, they're not over the line yet. But they've just been run so much better in the last 3 years, and you can see it because the teams that haven't been run well in that time, they've left behind. The teams that they either haven't overtaken or they've caught up with, but are run well. It's just,
I think as well what people don't always think or want to say. Some Arsenal fans don't want to say, but it's true. The reason Spurs have been closer to Arsenal is because Arsenal have been crud for about 20 years now. Let's be real. In terms of the league, we are the team that have fallen off. You know, we were winning titles and we were winning doubles and we were winning FA Cups. In the last 20, we won a few FA Cups, which I'm still not happy about. But Tottenham have gone to that level of being, we're finally up with Arsenal. No, you're up with top 4 and we dropped down to top 4. You know, it wasn't Tottenham and Arsenal gunning like we are now with Man City, was it? So Tottenham are really, really happy with how brilliant they are. Well, we're just crap at the moment, and you've caught up with us. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's what I don't know. It's just
no. I hear you because you could think about the hardest man in the world right now. Let's just say the toughest man in the world, John Jones or Pereira or Anthony Joshua, hardest men in the world. There's a 5-year-old little boy somewhere in the world. At some point in time, that 5-year-old boy will be able to beat those men up. There'll come a point where he's in his 30s or 40s. And they're old men and they can't move, right? There comes a point where, I'm as tough as Anthony Joshua now. Yeah, but he's 80 and you're 25. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly
and that's it's perspective sometimes. It really, really is. All Spurs fans, top 4 is a trophy. No, not for all. Not for all. I know the expressions was a trophy. Spurs fans shouldn't be stressing about competing. You can't rely on set pieces to win you the league. I think so. I think that's a dig at you boys.
Oh, listen, I agree with that. I don't think we can rely on set pieces to win us the league. I think we've got to play a lot better than we have done, right? But I look at it and I think, like there is part of our game now that is a huge strength that I don't think has been for quite some time, to be honest with you. And I think Nicholas Jova, to be fair, has come in and Arteta has praised him and said how great he has been. So, yeah, man, like set pieces it's part of the game though, boys, isn't it? It's part of the game.
Yeah. Well, it is. I got to say as well, like I said it before, I got to say it again because it's that bad. Romero on that corner was embarrassing.
It
absolutely
was
shambolic. I mean, I don't even know what he's doing. I mean, the thing is with Romero, on his day, he's not a bad player, is he? Let's be honest. But he's just so inconsistent. He's so inconsistent in some of these big games. Like, it's crazy. And that's the difference between like a world-class centre-half, and someone like Romero. Romero is a good centre half. He is, but you're not going to win titles with him. You ain't not consistent. He reminds me of Otamendi at City. Otamendi, he reminds me of Otamendi. Otamendi was a player that, like, on his day, was a solid centre half, but just sometimes just looked like he'd never played football before. So, they need a lot of work. I think Spurs are in trouble. So to wrap up this segment, because I know you want to move on, I think Spurs are in trouble. I think the next couple of years wouldn't surprise me if they don't play Champions League football now for the next 5-6 years.
Wow, you could be very right.
Because the reason I say that, right? Let's just say for 1 second, City don't get relegated. City not going anywhere. Arsenal not going anywhere, right? You got Villa and Newcastle coming through. Yeah, Liverpool at this moment in time still have the top players, but obviously they're running out of contracts. If they can keep hold of them, they won't be going anywhere. Chelsea are moving mad and spending crazy money, actually showing slight signs of improvement. I look at a team like Spurs and say, how do you get back in the top 4? I think they're in trouble, man. I think they're in trouble.
I think you could be very, very right. Speaking of world-class centre-backs, are you a little bit worried that Saliba might get poached by Real Madrid? There's also talk of Rodri as well. I mean, I've got a tendency to believe these stories. I look at Rodri and Saliba, and I do think, why would Madrid not want them, especially with maybe the age of the defenders and midfielders at the club? Are you a bit worried that Saliba's head could be turned by Real Madrid?
Massively, yeah, massively. I think we're all right for now, but we need to win stuff. If we don't start winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues and trophies, then why would he not go to Real Madrid? Listen, I think he's going to go to Real Madrid anyway at some point. I just hope it isn't very soon. I think he's happy enough at the moment. He looks happy. Doesn't look like he wants to go anywhere. But there's no doubt that Rodri, Saliba and Trent will all be looking at Real Madrid going, yeah, go on in. Well, everyone does, don't they? The minute Real Madrid do that, it's a different knock. That's what they say, right? So I've got no doubt that they will go. I've got no doubt that one day they'll probably want Haaland. I've got no doubt they'll want these players because that's what they do. Real Madrid want that, right? Whether they'll go is a different question. Am I worried? Absolutely, I am. And I'm not worried because Saliba might go, because as I say, I think he will potentially go at one stage. I hope it's when he's 28, not when he's 23, right? So for me, I think the only way that you keep him until the age of around 27, 28 is you win stuff. And that's what Arsenal have got to do now. We absolutely have to keep him happy by winning, because he isn't going to be challenging and coming in second to Man City when he can go and win stuff with Real Madrid. So it's just facts.
Pay him the money, man. Pay him the money, bro.
Well, at the moment we've got him under contract, and there is talk that we are going to be offering him and Saka and the guys another contract at the end of this season. And it's got to be big money, man. It's got to be big money.
He's on 190,000 a week now. I was looking at Real Madrid's. That's according to he's probably paid a little bit more than that, but let's look at the Real Madrid salaries for a moment, because I think Madrid want him. They want him for, to come in essentially and be one of their main centre backs. I'm just seeing what their top centre backs are earning now. So David Alaba is earning 32,000 a week. Jude Bellingham,
that was a free transfer though, wasn't
it? True. Milito's on 200. Yeah, Milito's on 280,000. Rudiger is on 280,000. So at the very least, you've got. I think Arsenal have got to start winning, as you say. On top of that, Danny Carvajal's only on 200 grand a week. Now I'd say only. I'm just thinking. I say that because Danny's what's his name? Ceballos is on the same money, according to this website. But I think what you're going to have to do to Saliba is start winning, yes. And I think you're going to have to turn around and go, and there's 350 grand a week. This is where wage structures have to be looked at, because otherwise, forget how much he loves your club. They are professionals. If he's offered 250 grand a week at Arsenal, but Real Madrid go, look, there's 350, there's 400. It is such a huge amount of money. And so many of these footballers support their extended families, charities, businesses. By the way, they lose half of it in tax anyway, right? So it's just, that's one thing. Arsenal will have to pay big, big money. What about Rodri? Because obviously being Spanish as well, and I know he already played for Ati, but is that a concern? Because he's at an age now where if he's going to go Madrid, it's going to have to be soon.
Maybe, but he's contracted for 3 years, and according to the reports from Sam Lee today, they can't afford him, and they can't match his wage. City have done what I said Arsenal should do with Saliba. City have apparently offered Rodri like Kevin De Bruyne money, and rightly so as well, by the way. You know what I mean? Because he deserves it. He's that good. And Real Madrid apparently can't match it. So I think Real Madrid are just basically waiting to see what happens with these charges, and if we get thrown out of the league, then they'll strike. But otherwise, I don't think he'll go.
They'll take them all.
Well, they probably will, yeah. But that's what I think.
How old is Rodri? Is Rodri 29?
28.
He's 28 years old, currently on 220 grand a week. Yeah, the new offer's got a bit, as you say, it's got to be sort of 400k a week, hasn't it? It's got to be absolutely massive.
I think it'll be 350 plus and maybe close to 400. That's what De Bruyne's pretty much on, and I don't think Real Madrid will do that. But the thing is, Real Madrid go for it. Obviously, if we're still in the league, like we could maybe go for one of theirs, because they've got Tchouaméni, they've got Camavinga. I think Camavinga's a baller, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
If you could get him on in return, that'd be insane. So now I think ours is just largely dependent on 115.
How are you getting Camavinga when you're in League Two, bruv?
Hopefully Chelsea come down with us, and then we'll
Chelsea with you. Obviously the trial has started this week, and It was really funny yesterday morning because there's this City account I follow called City Chiefs, and they were just posting obviously satire, and some people were like getting angry about it when they were saying, "Oh, they've found they've found a fake document already, 1-0 City and stuff." But obviously, there's a big build up. The location is now being put out there. 101 articles yesterday, and some people said, "Why haven't I done any full content on it yet?" It's well, I want to read the articles first, if I'm being honest. And there's loads of stuff that you read and go, "It sounds really good for City." There's other articles I've read where you go, "Oh, bloody hell, I didn't know that," or "That's something that's new information." How are you feeling about it from a City fan's perspective?
That's really changed, to be honest with you. Like, at the end of the day, we still don't know what's going on because it's all behind closed doors. We've got to wait for the thing. So the fact that it started is good because it means it's coming to an end. But like nothing's really changed because we don't know what's going on, behind those walls. So yeah, to be honest with you, man, like no real difference. The only thing is I'm kind of
expectation, OLB. Do you have any? Because like for me, when people talk to me about 115, one, I don't know enough about it, and I'm not really interested in reading about it, but so I don't really answer too much questions on it. But do you, as a City fan, do you have any kind of expectation about what you think the outcome might be? I know we're not going to find out potentially till like next season, but what are you as City fan base right now? Are you like, we believe our club, we haven't done anything wrong, or are you just like, who knows?
Well, who knows? Yeah, because this is unprecedented, right? I think the outcome will be 100% will get fined for the non-cooperation, which will be a fine because it's not sporting. For the fraud aspects, don't know. Can the Premier League prove fraud? I mean, the problem is we only have the evidence which has been leaked. We don't have the other evidence that the Premier League might have or might not have. Maybe the evidence have more. Maybe the Premier League have more evidence that we've not yet seen. Maybe they don't. We don't know what City's defense is, which is quite important in this matter. So we've only got really the emails to go off, and obviously the stuff that happened at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. But this is slightly different. It's got more to it. It's more complex. More stuff's been leaked. So I don't know. I'd still be surprised if City got kicked out of the league, just because I think like to prove the fraud, like they've got to prove that a lot of people have been lying. And you know what I mean? And I did a stream on it yesterday. You know what I mean? If you look through the arbitration document when we went to CAS, the level of CEOs that did a statement for the Court of Arbitration for Sport to say this is not true. This is not true. If the Premier League prove that City did commit fraud, you've also proved that all those people lied in the Court of Arbitration for Sport, which might have happened. I'm not saying it didn't. I'm just saying to accuse those level of people of doing that, I'm like, it would be one of the biggest things
they won't kick you out of the league. They'll potentially give you like a huge points deduction, which
I think so as well. If we got found guilty, I think it'd be like 100-point deduction.
Yeah, and I think what they would do as well, if it was that bad, it might be like 100 points, but I think they would stagger it over 5, 6, 7 seasons, because I also think you've got to understand that.
I heard that. They said that yesterday.
I don't think they do that, bro. I don't think they do that.
They might not, but the reason why I think they could is just if your owners stay as well, by the way, you being put into League Two makes a mockery of League Two because you're going to win it at a canter. And is it really fair on all the teams in that league that are kind of nothing to do with this? I almost feel there's an element of they keep you in the Premier League, but say you got a 20-point deduction every season for 5 years. You're not winning the league. You might get into like the lower level European stuff. But then it's because I think what they've also got to do, and this is me being fair, if you're guilty, you may not be. I also think they've got to try and protect the future of Man City as a club, because like we were saying earlier, if this is true, City fans ain't done this. The legends of City haven't done it. The football club in itself is an arbitrary object, an inanimate object. It's the current custodians that have done it. They need to be very careful that they don't put City into a position where the club theoretically could go out of business, because that for me is not a punishment that is suitable for the fans of the football club. So I think it's really wide open. And I think what you said about the evidence is so true, because I've followed some really great threads, and I'll send them. I'll put them in the group chat later. I think they're really worth a read. And I was actually talking to Nobbins earlier today about you and him, and I said, like, you are probably the two best City fans I've ever had conversations with about this, because you're not precious about it in the sense of you understand people are asking questions. You understand that there's two sides to a story. You back your club, but you understand there's two sides to a story. And these threads are brilliant because it's just two lawyers that are literally for about a year have been going at each other quite politely about their interpretations. And neither of them have revealed what their identity is, but they clearly know what they're talking about. And it's just so interesting to read. And that's the only thing I'm gutted about this trial is that it isn't public. I actually think this should be public. We should get daily updates. It should be recorded because I am genuinely intrigued to listen to the detail as opposed to just hearing a verdict, if that makes sense. But even with the evidence, as you mentioned it earlier, I think it's such a great point. There is, according to I read an article in the Independent today, lots of the missing evidence from the CAS and the UEFA case that CAS basically said, well, you can't prove this, or there isn't further evidence of this, therefore we can't rule in its favor, is now available according to this case. And that's what I find so interesting about it. So it's, as you say, I sort of sit there and I feel like part of me feels there is no smoke without fire. Could there really be, and I'm not saying 115 because about 30 or 40 of them about non-compliant. A few of them are about the grass. Could there be 40 to 50 charges that are absolutely baseless with zero evidence to them? I don't personally see the Premier League doing that.
Well, what it is, because that thing about the grass as well, that's not true. That was that was a myth that was put out on day one because someone read the wrong rule book. But so just to clarify, what's basically happened is, the Premier League is saying that Sheikh Mansour put money into Etihad, which then put money into Manchester City, and that the sponsorship wasn't legit. Etihad only paid part of it. If that's true, then we break FFP because then you got to redo the figures, and when you redo the figures, City have broken FFP. If it's so basically everything's just a consequence. That all these charges are basically all just a consequence of if this one thing gets proved to be like a fraud, the whole house of cards falls down, right? Yes. But if that one thing is fine, then there's no FFP breach, so the FFP thing is irrelevant.
No, I totally agree, and I think that's why I've said all along. Do I believe there's no smoke without fire? No, I believe you've probably done some things wrong. However, I think if you forensically examine most football clubs, you could find things that are wrong, or it could be interpreted wrong against the rules. What I've always been very open to is the severity. If it turns out that intentionally or unintentionally, you put £5 million extra into the club that shouldn't have been there, that has had no real effect on where you are now as a football club. And for me, that is a fine. That is a slap on the wrist. That is a please don't do it again as an example. You'll probably then get a little bit in trouble for the non-cooperation. If it turns out 500 million has been pumped into the club in the early stages and you've grown from that, that's when I even think the non-compliant rule breaks will carry more severe punishments, because it's obvious why you weren't complying, because the crime, as it were, was a lot bigger. So, yeah, look, I'm open.
If they're found innocent, right, and they literally get their non-compliant fine, and that's it, but they've done nothing else wrong, City fans are going to go nuts, right? Like, are they going to want like repercussions against the Premier League and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. You know what I mean? Like, yes, if we're guilty, like, we have to deal with the punishment, and we'll see what that is at the time. And obviously, that's when the rival fans will go sick, and understandable if they want to do that. But the flip side, you've got to be fair and say, well, if City do get found not guilty, City fans are going to be then fuming, because we've had this for fucking like the last 6 years, basically. So, like, what happened when it was at UEFA, when we won the case at CAS? City basically put out a statement, and it was like a bit of a jointy style statement, and basically said, "Oh, this represents like a new era of Manchester City's relationship with UEFA. We're all nicey again, right?" And it was just like, we just kind of went like, whatever. I've said this for some time. City fans ain't just going to accept that if it's the Premier League. If with the Premier League, man, they're going to have to do something. What they do, I don't know.
Do you know what? One theory I've got about that, though. I agree. If this is a witch hunt, certain people's heads have got to roll, and I've said that all along. And if what Khaldoon has said is true, and there is unequivocal, undeniable evidence, and if we give an example, LB's up on a charge for burglary on my house, but he has CCTV 4K footage of him sitting in his living room watching EastEnders at the exact same time in another city. That's what I consider to be unequivocal evidence. You can't deny it. So if City have something of that level, whoever has pushed this internally, their heads have got to roll. But the one thing the Premier League has got to probably protect itself, and I've heard a few lawyers say this, is, well, they've decided we only asked to investigate based on the leaks. You didn't comply. If it had just showed this evidence day one, you wouldn't have ever been charged. It wouldn't have been a witch hunt. So I think that the Premier League has probably got an out on that level by saying, well, all we asked you to do was show us your emails, show us your trading accounts, show us the bank statements. I'm just making this little bit up. We don't know what they're going to say yet. But you said your legal team said don't comply. Because you didn't comply and we believe something could be true, it's led to this point. So, yeah, listen, that's why it's great it started, I think, because all banter aside, as I've stated, they are unequivocally innocent, City. I'll stand shoulder to shoulder and say, well, they haven't done that wrong. You've got to prove it. You can't just make these accusations. If they have done something wrong to a major level, again, I've said this for such a long time, this is the biggest off-field footballing situation, I think, in the history of our game in this country. And it rewrites a decade or so of our history. It rewrites little things. I'm not even talking about the trophies for a moment. Like I've done it. I've held City in such high regard for how well they're run. It changes that. It changes even maybe how some of us look at our own clubs, because there are Liverpool fans that think, oh, we don't do enough. But what if it turns out you did do enough, but the only team doing more than you did it in a dodgy way? So I think there's so many ramifications, but that stuff isn't really worth delving into any more detail on until we start to hear things. Terry spent a bag of coin on his hair. Why is he wearing a cap indoors? Because I haven't done my hair today, bruv. I got that privilege. Where I didn't do it today. Do you know what I mean? I was out walking the dog and it was a bit messy. But thanks, Ray. JRD. Thank you for caring about my hair and my hat, my friend. I like it. Super chat here. Excuse me. Says, Terry, as a Madrid fan, Barca fans for years have complained about Madrid winning ugly. That's all my Barca friends talk about. It's interesting. It's just jealousy, isn't it? I suppose. I mean, this winning ugly thing. I don't think anybody. When you win, you win. I wouldn't care really.
The thing is, right? I felt like City deserved to win the game against Real Madrid last year, right? And in fact, I think the 3 years that we played you in a row, we've been better than you each time. We've only beaten you once out of those three ties. You've beaten us twice. It's irrelevant that City, in my view, was better than you 3 times in a row. We only won one of them. Doesn't matter, does it? I
agree, and I think that's also why. And I've had a few rants about this recently with the sort of mainly trolls online with the be like Real Madrid. It's hard to be. So Real Madrid can get away without having a very defined style of football because they have the ability to literally sign the best players in the world who are a finite commodity. If you think about all the top players at Real Madrid at any one time, how many other players in the world are there that are genuinely on that level of consistency and quality? 1 or 2 maybe in each position, maybe one more. Which means you can't all do what Real Madrid do. That's why they shouldn't be used as the benchmark operationally. You want to get there, but it's impossible. It is actually impossible for everybody to get to where Real Madrid are, because there literally isn't enough managers and players of that level to produce 10 Real Madrids. That's why it's such a flawed argument in my humble opinion. It doesn't mean you can't do more though as a club. So again, it's another conversation. Force the City owners to sell like they did Roman. I mean, look, it's a different. I don't know. Listen, it's a different situation because of politics. Listen, you never know. Maybe City fans are wanting to sell. It turns out they cheated. No one knows how. City fans don't know how they're going to feel until after the court case. No one knows.
You need to wait until the judgment's out, because then you can see exactly what's happened in it. You know what I mean?
No, it's cool. I've got a friend of mine. I won't name him because he doesn't want it out there. Me and him had a couple of private conversations about this. He's a City fan. It's a lad I used to train with up in Manchester. And his view is if they've actually cheated and lied the whole way through, he went, I don't think I'd want him here anymore because it feels like all that amazing achievements they've given me were fake, and I'd almost feel like I've been cheated on. And I get that view, but equally, you've got to wait until the verdict out. LB's spot on. For me, it's not against City fans. As a Man United fan, I just want to know if Mansour is truthful. If he's not, he needs to be called out, which I think is fair. If City didn't cheat, how did a crap club with no fan base develop crazy revenue in the space of a decade and build to a team that has now had revenue comparable to Real Madrid? I hate cheats, but would feel for the fans. Well, this is why the court case is important, because if they show that this is all legit and doable, then it does call into question more of the billionaire owners in the Premier League. And that's a big part that I'm interested in. How have they done it? And yeah, listen, it doesn't mean.
I agree with him. How did a crap club with no fan base develop revenue? ALB, come on, talk to us.
I mean, they are owned by they're owned by some serious billionaires. I tell you. Chelsea and Roman cough. Listen, we're still to see the outcome of the current investigation. I can't imagine Chelsea not getting charged with something though, because they self-reported. So
that's what Chelsea, I don't get. What's going on with Chelsea? Like they have get, we did do wrong, and then what's going on with that then?
Well, I think what's the name of the guy that runs the Premier League? Is it Richard Masters? Is that his name?
Yeah,
he spoke about this about 6 weeks ago, and he basically said that's very close to a conclusion. I can't imagine them not getting something when they self-reported. So it's a bit like pleading guilty in court. You say you're up for a charge where you're getting 5 years. Yeah. If you plead like Hugh Edwards, you know what I mean? Just fuck, I can't believe that. Honestly, I don't get involved in any of this stuff online. I looked at it and thought, suspend his sentence. Honestly, this world is rude. I'm not even getting into it. I couldn't believe it. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I can believe it. It's crazy. City in League 2, it will be Haaland's level.
Apparently, yeah.
Speaking of levels, I saw this shared today. Stefan said the leaks are not true. I'm actually going to be working with Stefan pretty soon and going through a lot of this stuff with him and somebody else. But look, I've heard this from a lot. I will say that I've heard a lot of City fans claim that the leaked emails are fake. We'll see. I've also seen a lot of serious people just go, they're absolutely not fake. And yeah, let's see. I mean, then this is where it's an interesting trial, because if City just say, well, we don't need to prove they're fake, you've got to prove they're real, that might work. But the adjudicators, the judges in this might go, well, actually, the fact they might decide to side with, you got to remember, it was 2-1 in Kaz. And if it was the other way around and it was 2-1 the other way, they would have accepted that. So look, it's again, he's saying they're not true. Some credible people are saying they are. Let's wait and see what the court case throws up, I think, there, my friend. But speaking of levels, but I do listen to Stefan. I shared a big tweet of his the other day on socials where it was a really good listen to what he said. And I understand what he states. I'm in the middle on this. The problem is with cognitive dissonance, it stops you listening to both sides. It makes you only hear one thing. Speaking of levels, Chelsea fans shared something this morning. I know they got a good win at the weekend, but the Supercomputer has predicted that they will come third this season based on the stats from the opening 4 games. LB, can you see Chelsea coming third this season?
No, I can't. No, I think they've got a chance of coming fourth. But as I've said all along, I think they lack a striker. I think they'll draw too many games. They might lose a few. Where if they had a striker, I've had this argument so many times with Dom. Yeah, if they would have got Osimhen, I would have answered that question yes. And that's why I think they should have paid the money.
But he's proud. He's proud they didn't pay him the money.
They're proud that they have the wage structure in place. Great, nice one. It might cost you top 4, and then obviously, building the club, and it might cost you trophies. Like for me, yeah, maybe I think they've got a chance of getting top 4. I'd be surprised if they finish third, because that means Liverpool have not finished third. I still think Liverpool finished third, so they've got a chance of finishing fourth. But I just do not understand for the life of me why they didn't go out there and sign Osimhen. He was there. He was available. Just give him what he wanted. Just give him the money that he wanted. Yeah, he could have got him in. And I think for me, that would have changed everything. I think they would have been third. It would have been a realistic opportunity. Yeah, I just think they would have had a pretty decent chance then. I still think this goalkeeper situation needs sorting out. I know Sanchez had a decent game against Bournemouth, but still don't think he's good enough. They got this new guy in as well that apparently is meant to be better than Sanchez, but I don't know about him. I don't know. I think Chelsea, it's going to be a weird season for them because they've got good players. They've got a few good players in there. Yeah. And I think top 5 is an absolute must with the money that they spent, £1.5 billion. But if they would have signed Osimhen, I would be saying, yeah, they're getting top 4. I would be sitting here now saying, yeah, they're getting top 4. Instead of, I think they might get top 4, but I don't know. I just think I've never seen a club other than Arsenal with Luis Suarez where one player would have guaranteed them something and they didn't do it. It's wild, man. It's wild. Don't get it.
That was 40 million and one that bid, wasn't it?
Yeah, and if they would have paid the proper money and just got him in, they would have won the title.
Facts. Do you know what I think about Chelsea, right? I actually believe if they keep players fit and go with the front four, which I believe should be Palmer in the 10, Neto at right wing, Sancho now at left wing, and Nkunku up front, I actually think they have got a chance if they keep players fit of going for a Champions League spot. If they play Jackson and they play Mudryk and they get all these guys, they ain't going to do it. I just don't think, I'm agree with LB, I don't think their goalkeeper is anywhere near good enough. I know he had a good game this weekend, but I do not think he is good enough. I think they'll try to stick with Fofana and Colwell. If they can form a partnership, they might be able to get a bit of improvement. If they ever play Disasi at the back again, it will be a disaster because he is absolutely awful as a fullback. But I do feel like, personally, I still think Liverpool and Villa are finishing above them. I do. And I've put Newcastle as the wild card to finish above them. At the moment, they're third. And everyone laughed when I said that. But I think they'll be okay. So with one game a week. So I do kind of think Chelsea is still floating around sixth, if I'm honest. But good surprise. Good surprise. At least Maresca has actually looked to sift through what he wants there now. And it isn't just 30 players trying to play at 11 sometimes. It looks like he actually does have a clue about who he likes and who he wants to put in that 11, it seems, anyway. So, yeah, man. And their bench is actually pretty decent when they can bring on some of the players they have brought on. I thought Sancho, by the way, was superb. I've got to say that. I thought he changed the game, man. I thought he was fantastic, mate. So, yeah, man, maybe they can go for top four challenge if they keep players fit. And I think that front four has to start now. I think Nkunku's a better finisher. This Jackson guy is absolutely woeful in front of goal. It's embarrassing. For me, Sancho has to play on the left now and Neto on the right. I don't think Neto looked that good on the left, if I'm honest, but he is a baller on the right. And I think Palmer, it's funny, I'll be interested in Palmer because everyone told me he's better than Saka and all this kind of stuff. Now that he's getting kicked, don't look as good, does he? Now that he's getting double teamed and double marked, don't look as good, does he?
Who's that? Sorry, who?
Palmer. He's he's now having the game like Saka's had for the last 3 years. Double team, kicked all the time. Oh, they're kicking him, they're double marking him. Oh, he's better than Saka.
You couldn't help bringing that up, could you? You couldn't help bringing it up, man. You guys are crazy. Nah. Listen, I like I say, I think Chelsea will finish anywhere between 4th and 6th. Is where I think they'll finish now. But like I say, if they signed Osimhen, they would have finished top 4 in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, the supercomputer thing, I saw Simon Phillips share it, and it made me giggle, and I thought that would just be a kind of intro into the conversation. But yeah, look, the game on Saturday was so interesting. Bournemouth are a difficult team to go away and play against, and there wasn't very many clear-cut chances for Bournemouth, barring a penalty. But they had opportunities, which I think they really wasted. And I think I got to about 60, 70 minutes in the game, and I tweeted, this is going to be a smash and grab 1-0 for Chelsea. It was just written all over that game, and it happened. And you're right, Sancho came on and did really, really well in terms of the attacking side of things. What I would say is that they were winning 94th minute. There was a counter that was launched by Bournemouth, and Sancho isn't the kind of player that is going to consistently get back and help out defensively. And I think they need to, and that's why I don't know about top 4 in this first season with Maresca and these players. The good thing is they're picking up some good wins, and that's going to build confidence in the team. But it's going to take time for Maresca and this squad to kind of be gelled together in terms of who do we play and when. You know, what team's home, what team's away, who we need when we're 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go, who's the best for us in those regard. And the biggest weakness in the team at the minute is when they're trying to play out from the back, and it's the mistakes they make defensively, which are crazy. Where when you look at Villa, I know they went 2-0 down the other day, but came back. When you look at Villa, and I know that Liverpool lost, but I need to see more evidence that Liverpool are going to be like that on a more regular basis. They both just look sturdier than Chelsea do. And just like winning a league title, the better you are defensively, the fewer opportunities you leak, generally the better you perform when you've got a decent attack. And all of those teams have got pretty good attacks. And that's what's really exciting. If you look at the teams in the kind of top 4 race, which Chelsea are in, the attacks are just littered full of skill and speed and goals across the board, that is. But I just look at Villa with Watkins and Duran's turning into a goal scorer. Although he's sort of a scorer of great goals, maybe not loads of goals. But if you've got 2 strikers, look, if they both continue like this, again, they're making the top 4. I don't think if you have 2 strikers that keep scoring at that level, it's almost impossible to not make it when you're also as defensively sound as Villa are a lot of the time. Liverpool are still going to make the top 4, in my opinion. So you're basically fighting over one place. So at the moment, I can't see Chelsea coming third unless defensively
Villa's
they have.
bench, by the way, boys, as well. Villa's bench is really impressive, by the way.
They look good. They look.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about Villa, the only thing I would throw in is how are they going to cope? It's this wait and Champions League football can change. You know, the rotation that comes in. Having said that, I know they're resting a few players, but Chelsea have got the Conference League as well. You know, it's maybe Newcastle that are the outlier in this because they've only got.
Newcastle should get top 4, really. If we're being honest with you, like I think if Newcastle don't get top 4, I think that idea will be sat, mate. Because like the team that they've got with no European football, like they've not really got any excuses, man. Like they've really not. Look at some of the players they've got in that team. They're good players. So you know, if for Chelsea to get in the top 4, yeah, Liverpool have to drop out. Right, which could happen, but still don't think it will happen. Newcastle are not going to be there, in which case I think Eddie Howe's job's going to be under pressure, or City got to get relegated, yeah, on the 115. That's the only way. That's the only way for me. But this is why I get a bit frustrated with Chelsea, and I'm frustrated with Don and some other Chelsea fans because I think it was that signing away from being basically secured, and you've now left it up to the gods, man. Which I know you love, Terry.
Yeah,
the football gods.
For up to the footy gods. But what about the team out of the top 6 that had the best result of the weekend? 3 goals, clean sheet. No, I am messing. Like, do you know what? Man United's game was interesting because again, we're in the conversation for the top 4, I think. Although I've predicted us to finish about 8th after the Liverpool game, but that game was so weird for us. And I'm looking for, I know we're playing Barnsley tonight. It's not obviously an acid test or anything, but first 35 minutes, I'm looking at it thinking he's getting sacked tonight. We score, good penalty save. We score.
Yeah.
And it was probably the most dominant. And I don't care that it's Southampton. And the reason I keep saying this is last season, home and away against the Burnleys, the Sheffield Uniteds, they actually peppered us and dominated us possession-wise. It was probably the best I've seen us in terms of dominating a game. We didn't concede an attempt on goal. Not even a pot shot from 30 yards for the next 70-odd minutes of the game. That's ridiculously unheard of in the last 18 months as the Man United fan. And I've seen a lot of people doing comps and go, we can do it. And this is what annoys me a little bit, is we can do it, especially against the teams that are inferior in terms of overall quality of player. My biggest frustration is do it more then. You know, do this against Crystal Palace away. Do this when we play Spurs at home, and then maybe more, you know, I think they'll get a lot more love and maybe, you know, people predicting them to maybe make it into the top 4 because when Man United do some good things, we look good. The problem is that the level of inconsistency within a football match, you know, it's more of a message to Man United fans. We're just not ready yet to be in it, to make the top 4 when I look at all the others that are fighting out for it. There's just too many inconsistencies right now.
No, I mean, you got boxed off the park in that first half, man. It was embarrassing,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
mad.
And if they could actually shoot, then you could have been 2 or 3-0 down, you know what I mean? But I got to give credit to Ten Hag. He chased it up a little bit in that second half, and it stopped that wave after wave of possession and attacks from Southampton. But I agree. I think if you finish 6th this season, that'll be a good season for you.
Yeah, I mean, based on the football so far, yes. I mean, if we're basing on that, it'll still be a disappointing season. Not if we do. As long as it improves, we'll see. I'm still not convinced. I want to be.
Ten Hag, man. It's Ten Hag for me.
I want to be, but
Because it's Ten Hag. I called this Ten Hag a fraud within the first couple of months of seeing this guy. Yeah, the guy's a clown. The guy's an absolute clown.
I agree.
And like he should have been fired, mate. That 7-0 defeat was a massive red flag, mate. And then apparently he played the same 11 the game after that. Yeah, what is he doing there? You know what I mean? There's been way too many red flags. Yeah, masked by trophies, which is trophies is good, but you've got to be a joined up process. Yeah, you've got to win trophies and be progressing in the league. And this guy's gone backwards. The worst ever finish for Man United in the Premier League last year. Yeah, he still gets the job because let's be honest, they didn't have the bottle to sack him after they won the FA Cup. Mad, crazy. And the United fans who sit there and slag off Tuchel, mate, yeah, is when you've got Ten Hag as your manager. That is crazy. That is crazy, mate.
Yeah, a few people in the comments saying, you know, with the amount of money that's been spent, 6 isn't a good season. Again, I think what you're misconstruing here, it's not a good season. But when you look at how we played in the opening 4 games, based on that quality of football, 6 is a good outcome, is what's being said here. And I think sometimes you've got to understand where people are coming from. It isn't a good season if we continue. But as I say, look, I'm just in that weird space of in my heart of hearts, I don't see the manager turning it around. I don't think he's a good enough coach with this group of players to do it. But I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. And yes, people saying it's only Southampton, guaranteed points. Yeah, look, we nearly always beat the smaller teams, but we got outplayed for that first 30 minutes. Was exactly how it was when we played Burnley last year, home and away. Sheffield United, home and away. Luton, home and away. Luton, we were 2-0 up away from home against them in the opening 8 minutes. And then I swear they got it back to 2-2, and then we went on to win 3-2, but it was a struggle. Yep. Or we might have gone 3-0 up and then got back to 3-2. But we struggled. So what we did in that second half is what we need to see more of. And I think more of that, and you will, Man United fans, more of those performances, and you'll see rivals change their minds. You'll see Man United fans change their mind. The media will have the one thing I would say, I don't like all of the media nonsense that comes out, but the one way to shut everybody up is play better, dominate more games, win more football matches. You do get left alone. You really, really do. And listen, I hope we win tonight. How do you boys see Liverpool getting on tonight? First Champions League game in the new format.
Tough, man. Tough. Honestly,
play
I
Milan.
think it's going to be tough. I really do. Is it at Milan as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough, man. I can see him dropping points. I can. I think this will be so interesting for me now, how Arne Slot reacts. Can they bounce back from that? It's like disappointing defeat, man, against Forest at home. I did not see that one coming. I don't know about you two boys, but I never saw that. So for me, when I look at it, I think, yeah, there's potential for Liverpool to drop points again tonight. So if they do win, it's a great result, and it's a real good bounce back for Ten Hag, man. Because not Ten Hag, for Slot, because that's what's needed, man. That's what's needed.
Now, in fact, I think it's a big test for him, because I think at some point in the season, Liverpool are going to go for a real sticky patch. Yeah. And I don't know whether it could be now. They've just lost one game. If they lose again tonight, then maybe you could start to see it, because it's a new manager. Yeah. Obviously, you've got a few players there that are now uncertain futures. It stinks of at some point having a bit of a sticky patch. It's when that comes and happens, like, how can you keep it to like a couple of games, or will it drag on for maybe 4, 5, 6 games? So it's a massive game. They could really do with winning it, obviously, just to sort of bounce back from that Forest match. But yeah, by all I didn't watch the Forest game because City were on at the same time. But by all I seen the goal. Wow, what a goal, by the way. By all accounts, Liverpool were trash. So they need to bounce back, man. They need to bounce back. The good news is it's only match day 1, so it's not too bad if they drop points.
But I don't think there's an issue for dropping points in the Champions League. It's more, as you say, if they get into a little rut, how will the fans react? You know, it isn't Jurgen Klopp there anymore. There isn't the same affinity and love. And, you know, sometimes that can be a difficult situation. So, yeah, if he can pick up a really good away win, you know, one of the most prestigious clubs in Champions League football history, I think, as you say, it's a great way to bounce back and answer those critics. Terry, Aston Villa's turnover is 220 million, and Arsenal spend more on players. However, you won't find a single Villa fan claiming their club doesn't show ambition. But you will if suddenly the turnover gets to 300 million, 400 million, 500 million, 600 million, but they're still only spending what they're spending now. And Villa are actually sensible to not overcommit and overspend at this point in case it does go wrong, because then you can leave a huge black hole financially, which was one of the biggest reasons they got relegated in the first place. You've seen Brighton increase their revenue naturally over the last 5-6 years, have some big spikes through sales of players, but gradually spent more and more money on individuals. And having another good start to a season, you have to do it in a smart way. And unless you've ever run a business, and trust me, I run some businesses now and I still don't quite get it. Cash is king in terms of cash flow, but you can't just spend all the new money that you bring in. You have to hold on to some of it. You have to be mindful. You have to be careful. But you overcommit to so many businesses. And this element is where your club has to be run like a business. If you overcommit and spend too much money too soon, the amount of organizations, businesses, schools, teams that fail because they run out of money is crazy. So they've got to be careful with that. What do you think Villa will do? Oh, yeah, they actually kick off in the Champions League in half an hour as well. So I'll be watching that game.
Young boys,
yes. Yeah, I think they'll win. To be fair.
Have they gone strong? Let's have a look at the lineup. Watkins starts, Tillman's, Onana, McGinn. Yeah, looks like they've gone full strength. It's on that
They need
4G grass shit though, isn't it? You know the
Yeah.
it's that we played on it a few years ago, man. It's dodgy,
AstroTurf.
bro. It's basically it's like playing at Power League, mate. It's grim.
Yes,
You know when you play at Power League and it's got all those like black, like sandy
Yeah, the black
things.
jelly thing.
Bro,
Yeah.
They're like daggers, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like you fall on your knees or something, bro. Your whole legs just get bladed.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's like, what the hell?
It ain't good. Yeah, but I listen, fair play to them. They're fans. I mean, I just can't imagine what their fans are feeling right now after, I don't know how many years it is, but what's it got to be? 40 odd years since they've been there. I don't remember them being in the Champions League in the Premier League era. I could be wrong.
They got well close under O'Neill in it, but that's why he left.
Yeah. They got very, very close. As a Milan fan, I have no confidence in our team currently, even if we have a new manager and it's having Ten Hag at the helm. Terry, can you imagine that? Zane, I appreciate that, bro, and I'm sure we'll speak soon. Boys, look, I want to thank both of you as ever. Always brilliant speaking to you. I keep saying this to the viewers. You know, we've had such a great growth recently. To all of the new subscribers, thank you. To everyone that's been here for a long time, you're amazing. Super chatters, you're brilliant. We're back tonight live after the Champions League games, and of course, United take on the might of Barnsley in the League Cup as well. So all on the same nights now, which is going to be interesting viewing. So we're back for the match reaction later. This video is going to take you through to Judge Mo's channel. So make sure you go across and support him now. LB, Potsy, always a pleasure, boy, to sit and speak football with you two. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.